Hey y'all, happy Thursday. I already told y'all I'm already geeked. I told y'all I was geeked already this week, this whole month. So y'all come on in the room. Like, y'all know what time it is. Been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. Told y'all I had a great exciting thing happening today, and I'm ready for y'all. So come on in. I know y'all see I have a guest. I know y'all see my flyers. I know you see my posts. So y'all know what it's about to be. Whenever I have somebody on, it's always worth it. So y'all come on in. And then I'm gonna do my sharing real quick. So I'm gonna give y'all a second to come in, and then I'm gonna introduce my guest so y'all don't be like hanging. So, but come on in the room. I hate to say like the come on in the room thing. It's like so cliche sometimes, but y'all know what I mean. Just come on in. Y'all can get settled down before we start because it's about to get good. It's about to get good. Hey, Mom, how are you? Yes, yes, I am. Good evening. Let's see. So I think that I shared it. Let me make sure.
I think I got the notification on my phone.
Actually. Okay. So
Yeah.
I know we're live. I know for a fact we're live. So y'all say hi when y'all get here so I can know. Y'all know y'all be real quiet lately. And my thing is just tell me you here so I can know and say hi so we can keep it going and keep it moving. Keep it moving. And I'm not gonna hold it up because I know y'all gonna trickle in. So hey bro, what up? How are you? I saw you post earlier. That was dope. Okay, let's see. So I think we're gonna get this thing started. Yep, let's get it started. All right, y'all. I'm excited. I told y'all this month I was going to be doing something called. Well, first of all, let me give some background to it. I feel like I have a diverse group of people who come in and rock with me. Men and women. Every once in a while, I'll have a man say something to me like, "Oh, that's that female stuff. Oh, you talking to the women. Oh, you doing woman encouragement. Oh, all this other stuff." And I'm like, okay, I could see how you can see that sometimes, but no, this is all about mental health and about breaking the stigma, and especially in the Black community, but breaking the stigma completely. And so this has no gender at all assigned to it. So the reality is, I really was like, what can I do to make the guys feel welcome here that I haven't already done? But, make sure they understand that this is not just a woman thing. And also how we need to make sure that we sometimes we looking at mental health as a I don't even know if I want to say feminine thing, but it just feels like that's what they give that energy to. And I need to break all that up. So with this great idea for us to talk about why it matters to man. And so that's where this men's mental health month came up from. I don't know if it's a real men's mental health month that there is, but I just made February it for right now. February 2021 on the Conversations from Paris show is men's mental health month. And what we're talking about is just breaking the stigma, having real conversations. One conversation at a time is how it happens, right? Y'all know how I feel about that. So I'm excited about this. Hey, Kiana, I am really excited about what this month is going to have. And I told you every Thursday I'm going to have somebody on. So I know y'all see my guests. So let me introduce them because I'm doing a lot of talking. But this is Jared. This is Jared Washington. And he's a licensed professional counselor. He has his master's in clinical mental health counseling. He's the CEO and the founder of HOPE, which stands for Healing Outreach Purpose Empowerment. That's dope. He's a speaker. He's an author of his upcoming book, Heal or Repeat. breaking the cycle of intergenerational trauma. I love that. Love that. All of that is so dope. And I was on Clubhouse one day and I was on a dope room where they were talking about mental health for men. And I got in and I met these guys and I just asked, could somebody come on one of my shows and talk? And I was so excited when he was one of the first people that came and said, yeah, I would, and helped out. So I'm excited. Gerald, welcome to Conversations from Paris. I appreciate you coming on and talk with us today.
I appreciate you for having me and just, creating this platform so that I can speak, so that we can have a good conversation and dialogue about, mental health in the men's community. Well, not community, but for men.
Right. This is dope. I'm excited. I'm super excited. My people starting to trickle in. They're excited. I think I'm gonna put the first comment I see up. My brother put that on here. He said it's seen as a point of weakness rather than actually being healed. And I think this is why we're talking about it, right? Right. Yeah. This is the goal, is to break that idea up, especially from men, right? The idea that it's a weakness. So I'm going to give you the floor. I gave you your introduction. On Tuesday, I like to always kind of roll into from the last time I talked. So on Tuesday, we talked about accountability, and I was priming everybody to make sure they were ready to open their hearts and minds and their thoughts to what we were talking about, and about how before you can even talk about any of this stuff, you have to open up your eyes to the idea of accountability. So I'm going to lead in right there. That's the first thing. Mental health, that stigma, that word, that's a big word. People, a big phrase, and people, especially men, they kind of wiggle out of that. They don't want to talk about it. They think it has nothing to do with them. They want to put the crazy word on it, and they just kind of go away from it. So what would you say? What's the first thing you would say to any man that's listening, and why it's important to talk about this?
I think the first thing I would say kind of hits right at that first comment, right? That mental health doesn't mean that you're weak. First of all, there's a difference between mental health and mental illness.
Okay.
So if we're talking about mental health, right, we're talking about the mental wellness, actually being healthy from a mental and emotional standpoint or perspective, right? But if we're talking about mental illness, then we're more so talking about the diagnoses out there, like depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and things of that nature. But if I had to say something to men about as it relates to mental health or even mental illness, is it doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're crazy. There's nothing wrong with engaging with your emotions. It doesn't mean that you're feminine. It doesn't emasculate you. That's not one of the points, or one of the things that us as therapists, that's one of the things that us as therapists try to convey to people, to men specifically, who shy away from mental health or shy away from getting a therapist, right? Because typically men, society tells men that we are supposed to be strong. We're supposed to be the backbone, the providers in our family. And then you're talking about dealing with something and we're unable to deal with it on our own, and meaning that we have to go to somebody and talk about it. No.
Nah, not really.
that means that I can't handle my business. That means that I'm weak, right?
Put a pin in that. Put a pin in that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to expound on that. That means, and I hear this so much and I see this, it's almost like they feel like because I need help, either I'm a victim, or either I can't do it by myself, and there's some form of weakness attached to that, and they literally feel like something's wrong with me because this is something I'm looking into. Can you speak to that? Because I think that, to me, till you get past that, none of this other stuff matter. You're not going to hear it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the issues. Thinking that you're weak, or that something is wrong, that you're inadequate, your self-worth is damaged because you need that help. Because society says, again, that you have to be able to do it on your own as a man.
Yeah.
Weakness is not a man trait. Society says.
Society says.
Right? It's not a man's trait. Going to talk to somebody about your problems, that's what women do. That's not what men do. We're supposed to we're supposed to get over it and be able to manage it on our own. But the reality is that we're all going to experience something that we cannot handle alone. That's the reality. And if we try to handle it alone, we'll end up trying to do more damage. It's counterproductive. We'll do more damage than good, right? That
Yeah.
trying to handle our mental health or a mental illness, especially alone, when we're dealing with something that literally is unbearable for us. What we see a lot is men shutting down.
Yep.
We see a lot of men afraid to be vulnerable because, again, vulnerability is not for
It's
men.
weakness.
It's
Yep.
weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking
Mm-hmm.
down. I was doing uh not a lot, like a Zoom call with some high school kids over the summer, last summer, 2020. And one kid said to me, he said, "Yeah, my dad taught me never to show my emotions because I have to be strong for my family." And I said, if you never were to engage with your emotions because you're supposed to be strong for your family and your family's good and you're taking care of your family in that manner, who's taking care of you?
Listen, and that's good that you had that conversation because you see how young it starts.
Mm,
It starts so young. I remember people walking up to my son. My son will be 18 in March, and I remember when he was 6 and 5, and I'm a single mom, and so people used to walk up to him, and they meant well, but they used to be like, you're the man of the house,
mm.
be strong, and I'm like, no, he's not the man of the house. Have to be strong. And I understood what they were trying to do, but it was counterproductive because now you let this little boy think that he has to be this man, and it puts a false sense of responsibility on them, and they don't feel like they can just be. They don't they can just exist. They don't feel like they can emote, and it's just a dangerous place to be in. Um, it really is. Hold on. I got another comment. I just want to before I go as far. Um, he said it's a sense bravado that slows down the mental and spiritual maturation. Big words over here, and hindering our true potential as man, and causing a shutdown rather than being made free. Absolutely. Absolutely. I holistically agree with that. I think that what you said is so powerful because until you get past the thought that you have to do it on your own. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing I see is this idea of if I need help, that means I'm weak and something's wrong. I'm broken. I heard somebody say I'm broken. You think I'm broken? I'm like, that's how you translated that?
Yeah.
You really felt that way. I mean, I'm just being honest. That's the thought. Is that I'm broken. And I've heard guys tell me, I don't need to be fixed. And I'm like, wow. So it's this idea that you believe to talk about these things means that I'm not manly enough to handle my emotions. I've even heard men say, speak to the idea of, I heard men say, emotions, women are emotions. Women have emotions. We don't. We're logical beings. Women are emotional beings. Speak to that because I think that's part of this too.
So the thing is that that's funny. The thing is that everybody has emotions.
Everybody. Say
Actually,
it for the people in the back again.
everybody has emotions. If it's actually pretty comical that that there are people that actually feel like that because even if right, even if let's go off that logic, right?
Okay.
Even if men think that if we as men thought that women are the ones that have emotions and we're not, but we get angry. That's an emotion.
Come on.
You
Speak,
know,
sir.
you may
Speak.
you may not display the typical um behaviors of sadness or depression, but depression also could be irritability and anger. And that's typically how it manifests in men, right?
Listen, talk about all these different things that they don't classify. Just because you think that's a woman's side effect, or this is how you display it, it's still an emotion. These are still feelings. You are not a robot. We all have feelings. It's real.
Exactly. And as far as the logical part, I believe that emotion and logic lie on the spectrum, right? So you may have people. I hate saying that women are more emotional than men
I
because
hate it too because I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either. I don't think that's true. I think that maybe we see more women engaging and displaying their emotions more than
Yes.
men, and that's because society again tells men not to engage with their emotions. We're taught that. It's literally taught. I at 16 years old, I couldn't be caught crying in front of my friends. If I was crying in front of my friends would straight up clown me. They would be like, "What are you crying for? Are you a girl?" Blah 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 blah.
Sheesh.
Right? Can't do it, you know. And there were times where I may have wanted to, based off of
What was
whatever I
happening?
was experiencing at the time, right? But I had to quote unquote toughen up, and if
Mhm.
I didn't toughen up, then my masculinity was challenged,
Whew.
you know. And so anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But
Well,
if
yeah, I
I
know that's a whole nother thing that goes. It can go deeper and deeper, but you hit that on the head. Is that idea? And you talk about 16. Let's talk about when you're 3 and 4, and you hurt your foot, and your daddy and your brothers or your uncles and them say, "Hey, man up." What does man up even mean? What does that mean? I'm 4 and I'm crying because I hurt my toe.
exactly,
Oh, and
exactly.
that's not even talk about the homophobia that we use. So that I feel like this whole idea, nothing's wrong with being whatever your gender, your sexuality is. But the thing is sometimes we have, especially in the Black community, such a homophobia that
Mhm.
every time a boy does something like cry or feel or something, don't be no punk. We don't want to see that. Let's turn that around. Please, ma'am. Please, sir. Because it's not just the guys. Please, ma'am. Please, sir. Child to feel, get it out. Because I think what we're seeing now,
Mhm.
I see some good comments I'm about to pull in. Is that, and this is a good analogy I always had to people. We all have emotions. What I see men do a lot, and this is not me finger pointing. I'm just, you tell me if I'm wrong, Jared.
Mhm.
They take it and they push it down. I don't want to feel. I don't want to. I'm not supposed to feel. Let me just push that emotion down. I got hurt. Somebody hurt me. Touch me the wrong way. Push that down. Can't talk about that. Put that down. My daddy left the household, and I was torn apart. And push that down. I can't really talk about that. My mom is emotionally unavailable. I'm gonna push that down. Yeah,
Mhm.
about that either. I had to go leave school because I had to work because we didn't have money. I'm gonna push that down. And after pushing and pushing that, it didn't go anywhere. It's just in this pressurized chamber.
Mhm.
And it's basically what happens is that you think you don't emote, but what happens is that the a feather come down, one little thing. Somebody can say the wrong thing and you pop off.
Mhm.
You go off on everybody and they think, well, what, that came out of nowhere. It didn't come out of anywhere. You were pushing that stuff down and it came up. And I mean, I'm sure you see this all the time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've tell clients all the time when we suppress or bottle up our emotions is just very similar to shaking up a soda bottle or soda can and then just open it up. It's going to explode eventually.
Yeah.
But if we're able to express our emotions, we're able to talk about it, get it out somehow, right? We don't even sometimes have to just only talk about it. We could journal, we could write, we could
Come on, sir. Come on with the journaling.
different things that we can do. And I just, as a therapist, I told people about journaling, and I would journal every here and there, and it would work a little bit. But this year, I was very intentional about journaling and really getting my thoughts on paper, and it was like a mind dump. It's like sometimes our thoughts can be we can have racing thoughts where we're all over the place, where we're not just really geared or centered on one thing. We could be thinking about A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and we can just do a mind dump and literally just get it on a piece of paper and we're able to clear our minds. But What I was going to say was, I tell my clients all the time, just like when you're expressing yourself or engaging with those emotions rather than just suppressing them, just like shaking that soda can up or soda bottle and just easing the top off. You know what I'm saying? It
Mm-hmm.
comes out a little bit rather than exploding. So there's a big difference. And
Big
I think
difference.
it's important that we engage as men and as women, that we engage within our emotions, but especially, men, because again, I'm gonna keep saying this, society says that we should not, but we should. We have emotions just like everybody else. We're human beings at the core of it. And so human beings have emotions, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're going to experience them. You're going to experience sadness, anger, irritability, frustration, happiness. It's all
Yes.
about, and those emotions, there's nothing wrong with them. And when I explain, even when I explain emotions to people, right, I always explain it from the sense of, you have, um, you don't have negative or positive emotions. You either have comfortable or uncomfortable emotions, right? And the
I
reason
like
why
that.
I explain it this way is because I believe that I'm a CBT therapist, which stands for cognitive behavioral therapy. It talks about how our thoughts influences our feelings influences our behaviors, and our behaviors just reinforce the thought. So if our thought creates our feelings, right? If I have a negative thought,
Mhm.
I always ask the client, if I have a negative thought, what that mean I'm gonna have? They're like, you're gonna have negative feelings. I'm like, no, feelings aren't negative, because all of our feelings are valid. All of our feelings and emotions, we experience them, and it's okay to experience them, right? And so not the problem, but the thing is how we engage with them and what we do when we experience the emotion. So people will say, I have anger management, or I have anger problems. You don't have anger problems. You have a problem with how you respond to your anger. You have the option of punching somebody or walking away when you're angry. You have that choice. You know,
Absolutely.
it might be a
Absolutely.
hard choice, but you have that choice, and we can learn how to eventually get to a place where we can engage much better and in a much more healthier way with our emotions. But that's why I say our emotions are either comfortable or uncomfortable. Anger is uncomfortable. That's why we suppress it, or that's why we try to do whatever we can do to stop experiencing it. But happiness is comfortable.
Well, but it depends, and I hate to stop it, but that's a good way to bring a comment in. Kiana said anger is often acceptable emotion to many men, and I've seen that too, where they feel like the only time they can emote if it's anger, if that's the only emotion that's worthy of letting out, or sometimes they don't even know it, but sometimes they're comfortable with it. Like there's some people that are like, hey, anger releases something. Like I've seen it. It's like, okay, when I pop off, there's a endorphin that's like released and I feel good. I popped off, I feel good now.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, I get that you got some relief from that, but what are the other consequences of that? Like, and
Mhm.
make sure that it's not always about what right? Because if that's your go-to emotion, like if that's okay, I'm like I seem like, oh, I'm cool, I'm cool, I'm cool, I'm cool. Just don't mess with me. I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm cool. Okay, I'm popping off. And it's like, sir, that whole 0 to 100 thing, you got to understand that might be what you're used to, but you can change that. Like you said, that doesn't have to be your default. It does not.
Exactly. 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 I hear what you're saying, but I still think the emotion is uncomfortable. That's why they pop off, so that they don't have to experience the emotion anymore.
You mean the emotion? So this is something that I thought too. Now you tell me if I'm wrong. I've always heard that anger is a response to an emotion, right? I've heard that, right? So that you might feel sad, you might feel
It's a
disappointed.
secondary emotion. So
Yes. Okay.
it's a
Yes.
secondary emotion, right?
Yes.
You can be
Okay.
sad. You can
Yep.
it's a they call it the anger iceberg, right? And so
Hmm.
they have like
Hmm.
what you see outside of the water, and then in
Hmm.
comparison to what's actually.
What's really under there? Yeah. Yeah. The bigger
So it could
issue.
be sadness, irritability, frustration, all that
Yes.
stuff that is making you angry. That
Yes.
so it's still an emotion. It's just a secondary emotion. You get.
Exactly. And that's the thing of figuring out what it is that you really feel that's under there. That's like
Mhm.
you're saying it's uncomfortable to deal with the under.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's just like, okay, well, this is just what's happening on this in the surface. And I try to tell people sometimes it's never, not sometimes, it's never that simple. It's never just I'm an angry person. Like there's a root to everything, and figuring out what the root is really what is how we go. I mean, and that kind of pulls us into like our topic, healing from your past. If you're not able to look at that stuff from your past and understand and look back, that's why I talked about accountability. It's uncomfortable. I'm glad you said that about the uncomfortable thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, but we have to have these conversations and be willing to be courageous enough to look back. Sometimes people say, well, that's the past. I don't want to look at that. Just the past. There's nothing good in the past. Or if it was bad, why dig that up? Jared, tell me why we dig that up. Why should we? And I'm not saying this is just something you do haphazardly. I'm just saying, you know, a lot of times people don't understand the emotions that they're feeling, and they oftentimes don't realize it is very much so usually something that's deep from how the experiences that they've dealt with growing up, or stuff that they've never really handled properly. So why do we need to look in the past? Why as men especially?
I think we need to look at the past, and of course, like you said, in a safe way, right? So that may be with a therapist, or maybe a life coach, or what are those other, like a mentor, just somebody who can help you once you open that wound, help you start the healing process of that wound. Now, I wanted to begin with that part. I think the reason why we want to bring up the past, or we want to start the healing process from things that affected us in the past, because it impacted us in a way, it can impact us in a way that it still manifests us today, right? And when we're talking about trauma, right now, the book that I wrote, it's called Breaking the Cycle of Intergenerational Trauma. Heal and Repeat: Breaking the Cycle of Intergenerational Trauma. Intergenerational trauma is trauma responses that are passed down through different generations in a family or a community. So if I have experienced a trauma when I was younger, right, and I responded, I start to respond as I grow older, and in response to that trauma, I begin to engage in verbal abuse, right, because of that trauma. I can then pass down that same trauma response to my kids. I can impact them because when I grew up with verbal abuse, right? That's all I know, right? This is just an example. I grew up with verbal abuse. That's all I know. So then I pass down that to my children. That's all they know. Then they pass that down to their children. That's all they know, right? Now, trauma responses passed down through generations in a family that is unresolved. So that's the purpose of digging up, or going back, learning those things that affected you or impacted you in your past, and being able to heal from that, so that we're not promoting a culture of trauma, but rather promoting a culture of healing. That is important, and that's why we want to bring up those things that impacted us, that may have traumatized us, that may have affected us in some way in the past, so that we can start the healing work, so that we're not passing that down to our children.
Yes. And that's so good. I love, like, it's so funny because I didn't really read the title of your book until I read the bio. I'm like, this is good. I read that book. That book is gonna be awesome. Let me know when that comes out. But that's real. And I bring up the past because sometimes people will say this is just how I am. Or they'll just say this is how I deal with things. Or I've always been like this, or this is how my daddy did it. This is how the men in my family do it. And so it becomes a thing where they don't even know why they're doing it. Like if you ask them, they really can't tell you or begin to tell you why it's there, let alone be able to try to figure out how to heal it. And so oftentimes being able to go back. I mean, we believe that in history, but we don't really believe that in real life. Like if you talk to any historian, they say the study of history is so we can know how to go forward in the future, right? That's what any historian says. And I used to hate history, but I did. I was a math and science person, but
Yeah.
I understand now that there are cycles. I see
Mhm.
you said that about cycles. There are things that you will repeat if you don't realize that this is not new. And the Bible
Mhm.
say there's nothing new under the sun, right?
Yeah.
Like, so this idea that it's just happening with you for the first time, it's not ever happened. And I realize that you are literally in the same cycle, possibly as your granddad, as your dad, even if you know him. And that's why it's so interesting about stuff. Like you could have never met that man and don't realize you are repeating certain patterns because
Exactly. Because it's also, listen, it's passed down through not either, it's passed down through learned behaviors, storytelling, and the one thing that we don't realize is passed down through is our epigenetics. It's literally passed down in our DNA. Literally.
I believe that. I believe that. And I think that it's interesting because they have that nature versus nurture conversation all the time, right?
Mhm.
Get really heated. But the idea that your environments create what you're gonna do. But it's also, like you said, that there's a DNA piece there, right? Which is
Mhm.
there used to be this real big idea about who you would end up procreating with because it mattered, right? You don't know, do they have past mental illness in their family or what things are they dealing with, or you have no idea the type of stuff that's embedded in them and that's in you now. So this conversation is getting good. Like, okay, let me.
Mhm.
I don't want people to feel like we just talking. Y'all know I get excited. So when I get somebody on here, I'm just talking. So hopefully I'm gonna pull y'all into what you said. Let's see, Tracy said that society places a stigma on man if they express any form of emotions, he's less than. Therefore, creating a culture of constant needing to validate himself of being a man.
Mm.
That's
Oh,
good, isn't it?
good.
That's good. And I think that's so true. It's this idea that, they're seeking, I call it internal and external validation. You're
Mhm.
seeking it externally through stuff and showing people that you have it. And internally, sometimes I believe people literally are trying to prove to themselves they're a man.
Mhm.
I've seen people talk to themselves, I'm a man, I got this, I'm a man. And it's like to themselves, like then nobody's around. And I'm not making fun of that. I'm saying that they're literally having to give themselves a pep talk because they've not
Mhm.
told it's safe to talk to anybody. They've not,
Yeah.
they've taught them that they have to what it means to be a man is to suck it up, like to suck
Mhm.
it up and get it together. Like, you can't cry in front of your family like that. I used to hate when I heard men say, I can't cry in front of my family. Like literally your mother died, like or your wife died, or your child had some situation and you literally in your here, I can't cry. And I'm like, that's so sad that they really perpetuate those intergenerational pieces of, I call it, toxicity. Oh, I always say the word wrong, put a V in it some kind of way, but what I'm saying is that this passed down, and we're literally doing something that we don't realize we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Joness said, God made us both men and women in his image, and God himself has emotions. I mean, that's the creator, right? I mean, we're not incomplete. Nobody was made and said, oh, this person needs this and that person. That's another thing. I don't even want to get into relationships right now, but one day we will. But when we
Mhm.
about it, it's like this whole idea that somebody completes you. That's not true. No, no, no. You have to be whole yourself, right? And in being whole, this idea is though I've heard men say, well, I need a woman to balance me out. And I'm like, I know that sounds cute. It sounds really cute.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people don't complete each other, but I do think you can complement each other. I do believe there's a good way to complement each other, my strengths and your weaknesses, and we work together to do that. With that being said, it does not take the onus and ownership from you to be able to emote properly and be able to have your emotions. You should not look externally for that. It shouldn't be like, well, I don't have feelings, and so I'm gonna let my lady have her feelings, and then that's how it works.
Yeah.
No, no, no. You're complete. You're complete. You were made a mistake. It was no mistakes made. There were no mistakes made. Uh, Timothy, emotions lie within human nature. So to deny them, we as man deny our liberty to be free and actually love.
I love that.
Come on, Tim. I love that too. That's good, isn't it? I'm telling you, I got some of the best viewers.
I'm about to say, you got some good comments. I love it.
Carol said some men raise their male child to repress their emotions. Absolutely. They don't even realize they're doing because this is what they were taught. It's a taught learned behavior, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I absolutely believe that. I'm sorry, people came here. I didn't see it. Hey, Miss Carol. Hey, Tatiana. Hey, Bree. Trey. Let's see who else. I got some more comments. Then we're gonna go back to the conversation. Lavelle said when we were talking about anger, he said, "But the anger is not what they're comfortable in. It's the feeling that after they pop off." And I understand that. I think he's saying that it's not that they're comfortable in that feeling, but that release that happened after they popped off, which released some of the tension. Like we talked about that whole idea that you got that pressure in there and it came up and it's like, whoa, it's like I actually feel a little bit better. And it could be perceived. See, that's what people have to understand what they're doing. If you think that you feel better because you just had that whole moment where you popped off, and so you allow that to happen, you don't really understand yourself and the emotion. Really, what it is that you need to, like you said, start to undo that top a little bit more so it's not all popping off and you have that built up pressure where if you even pressure a little bit at a time, you won't feel like you need to do that. You will be able to say, okay, I never get to the point where I'm so full that I'm gonna explode.
Yep.
You know, and I think that's important for men to hear, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and I think we're almost getting done with these comments. Tracy said, but that's not the responsible way to respond with anger. We all need to recognize what's actually going on. Yep, there we go. I just said that, right? So see, look, I love how y'all like getting in here. Jen, just so you know, like I don't like to just talk to myself. My goal is for us to have conversation, like back and forth. Let's talk about it so we can make sure that we're doing it together and we understand. Kelly said cycles. We just talked about that. That's for sure cycles. That's what this is. Not understanding what's going on and you continue to do the same things over and over. And here's the last Kiana said, many men get their validation through abusing and misusing women. Okay, wow, you stepping heavy, Miss Kiana. You stepping heavy. We talked about validation. And
I one up her.
I'll let you take this one because I think this could be perceived wrong if we don't hit it the right way. But I think you know what to do with this, Jared. So what do you say to that?
I would definitely agree. I also think that we as men, myself included, I'm not even going to take myself out of this at one point in time, right? Our self-esteems are built off the back of women.
Woo, hold on, put a pin in it. I'm sorry, I hear something good. Did you just say y'all self-esteem is built off the back of women?
Yes.
Did y'all hear him? Honestly, I'm sorry. I mean, everybody not gonna like that statement, but
I mean, it's a fact. Yeah. Just think about it. Think about it. You know, I'll just use my own experiences so that no one else could feel like I am blaming them or pointing at them.
Okay.
When I was growing up, it was cool to misuse women. That's what whoever had the most women was the cool guy. Whoever could, have sex with the most women was the cool guy. That's misusing women. That's abusing women. Your self-esteem is built off of that. My self-esteem is built off of that. And so again, just even to comment on that, yeah, we get out. That's our validation, but that's also how we built our self-esteem off the backs of women, right? By misusing, and abusing them, right? And I think that goes into a whole nother topic of how men and women interact with each other. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. But you know what? Can I go because I already knew what I was gonna get soon. We got a thumbs down already, but that's okay. I think
I spoke for myself.
That's you listen. I like both sides. Let's go into it, right? I think nothing was wrong with what you said. Absolutely, you were honest about it. I do believe that it's so much more depth to that, right?
Absolutely.
I believe that comes in two ways, which is why I talk about the past. if you had a tumultuous relationship with your mom, let's go there, right? You know, um, that shapes how you view women, right? How you dealt with her. Even if you had a good relationship with your mom, even what you expect from women, that
Mm-hmm.
that shapes how you do things. And let's go a step further. How many times have we heard guys say, that first girlfriend I had when I was 11 years old, I liked Cherie Thompson from the sixth grade. I liked her. And Cherie, I asked her to be my girlfriend, and she didn't circle the yes. And ever since then, I've been dogging women ever since then. And I'll be like, really? Like, and honestly, like, is a real story. I mean, just an example, but I'm talking about really real life stuff. Like, people have not healed from this stuff. They've not looked at this stuff. They've not dealt with the past, and therefore they don't even realize how they're responding. And
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, will argue you down and tell you, I don't mistreat women. I deal with people how they deal with me. And it's like they take no accountability for their action. One of the things I tell people is about intentionality. You have to only be responsible for your actions. I can't control what happens to me, but I can work on controlling how I respond. Less reacting, more responding.
Mm-hmm.
Take it out of this idea that you're out of control, that you had no way or no say in anything, but more so to say, okay, what is my piece here? You know, why do like, I'll give you an example, and I'm gonna let you go talk. I'm sorry, I just wanted to just give this example. I had a moment where it was a certain person who walked in the room, and every time they walked in the room, I had a reaction, and I blamed it on them because of past stuff. I'm like, it's them. They give me this when they give me like this. Every time I walk in the room, I get that it's a trigger. But what I didn't understand, I had to be old enough to have the conversation about
Mm-hmm.
why was I triggered like that. It was a deep trigger
Mm-hmm.
time. And most people they don't even care that far. They don't want to go look into that far. But you got to go back and see what started that trigger. Why does this person pull me this way? And seeing if there's anything that we can do to figure that out and heal that. Because guess what? In this moment, my trigger, as soon as you walk in the room, that's me. That's on me.
Yeah.
I can't even blame that on you. You didn't do nothing yet.
Yeah.
Even past stuff, it really don't matter. Right now, I know every single time I have a physical reaction to your very presence in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to be honest about that. There are some people when they see, a person or even the opposite sex, if you have a physical response of disrespecting, a physical response of making you feel like you're less than, you then have to look at what is my issue here? And you cannot blame it on that person every single time, or they deserve this, or I'm just reacting to a person, right? Because at some point you have to think about and dissect what is that about.
It's about exploring those triggers. That's what it's about. It's about exploring those triggers. Why am I triggered?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, why am I triggered? Why am I feeling like this in this moment? What is it
Yep.
about whatever that's happening in this moment that's bringing up these emotions, these feelings inside of you? Where does that
Yep.
come from? Where does it stem from? And that's what we process. That's what we process. As men, as women, as just humans. That's what we process.
As humans.
That's where we start.
As humans, and that's what it is. Lavelle is one of my good friends. I see your thumbs down. I'm not gonna put it on the screen, but how about you elaborate on what you have? I know what you disagree with. I know his thing is, us saying about men and their ideas or building their emotions off of, or their self-esteem off of women. And I know that you want to argue with that, but then explain why you argue with it, right? To both sides of it, right? And at the end of the day, let's be clear, there's no one size fits all. Every man is not the same. Every woman's not the same, right? Okay, we all know that there's exceptions to every rule, but the general consensus is there are certain things. I think, let me say this, and I'll say this as a woman, right? You said that as a man, I'll say as a woman. I think there are certain things women do for the opposite sex, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the same thing is for men, consciously or unconsciously. That's
Mm-hmm.
the word. Because I think sometimes, like, well, I don't consciously walk out the house for this. When I do this, I don't do it for a man. I get it, or I don't do it for a woman. That's what you say. But what's built into us is this idea that of attraction, and even deep down inside about cohabitating with somebody and procreating and all that
Mm-hmm.
built into your DNA, is built into how you believe. And so on a very basic human level, on a very basic, I go to mammals, right? Like we just right? On a very basic level, that's the idea that there's not something in us that um, responds or is um, has an intention of getting a reaction. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just the reality of it, right? And like you said, like the reality is we all interact. We have relationships. We just do. You have parental relationships. You have child relationships. You have friendships. You have romantic relationships. You have platonic relationships. Work relationships. You have all of that. All of and the reality is, if we pretend, like sometimes people say, "Oh, I don't care what anybody thinks," and I always battle that a little bit. If that's really true, right? I don't care what anybody thinks, or is it more healthy to say, I don't allow what people think to rule me?
I think it's more healthy to say I don't allow what people think to rule me, or even say I'm comfortable in validating myself. I don't look for external validation alone. You know,
Listen,
but
I
I
like
think
that. You said alone. I like
yeah,
that. Not alone. I do. There is some external validation. I'm not gonna lie about that.
absolutely.
We all have it, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, we do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
not being ashamed of that or pretending like that's not there, right? Because then
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Because it is there, and that's a factor. Like positive reinforcement. If you do your makeup a different way today, and someone says that look nice, you'll probably do it again that way. That's external validation, and that's the positive reinforcement. So that's an example of that.
listen. That's good. Lavelle, you said too much to type. We'll talk. Don't worry. We got all month. Don't you worry. It's gonna be enough time, and you could always put your thesis in there if you want. I welcome. This is what it's about. The conversation. Like there's so many people not having the conversation. I heard a guy tell me, "Oh, I don't need to talk about mental health. I go get my hair cut," and I'm like, maybe for sometimes us women go to beautician and they're like, oh, that's like, we fake that's your therapy. But like it's like, okay, like you really legit believe sitting in that chair talking to Roscoe. Now you
I
maybe
believe in
so.
getting. I believe in getting an objective and unbiased opinion what about what you're going through, as well as a professional. Yeah, the barbershop's cool. You have some good conversations in there. I'm a black male. I get my hair cut. I mean, it don't look like it right now, but I get my I get my hair cut. I know what the barbershop experience is about. I know what it's like, and it's cool.
Right.
Talk about
Yeah.
sports, talk about a whole bunch of different things in it. You know what I'm saying? And so I get it, right? But if you're talking about some real stuff, like if you're talking about trauma, and you're going in the barbershop to get some information about your trauma,
Yeah.
somebody that's not a professional that's going to open up that wound but not help you heal that wound. So now you're you're open back up. All those emotions that you felt when that trauma happened is coming about now, and you don't know what to do with yourself. You don't know how to manage it. You don't know how to engage with it.
That,
That's what I don't get.
that's real. That's what you say. You said something good about opening up a wound. This we talk about healing from your past. Opening up a wound and not having a professional there. Like if we're talking about a real wound, if I get shot in the arm
Mhm.
and I see, here's my analogy. I love my shot in the arm analogy. So like somebody can say, "Oh, that person shot me," and they're wrong. And the idea is, yes, that person is wrong. They are dead wrong. It's their fault. They shot you. Well, you're gonna bleed out if you sit there and then stand there and never go to the hospital and get that wound treated. You're gonna bleed out and die. Okay, so it's not enough to just say they're wrong. there has to be some accountability. You got to say, okay, yes, they hurt me, but I have to heal, right? So let me go to the hospital, walk myself over to the emergency room. I'm on the west side, walking over to, okay. So I walk into the emergency room and I say, doctor, I've been hurt. The reality is once you go to the emergency room, they should be able to dress your wound and work on it. But a lot of times, let's be honest, a lot of us, and I'm speaking me too, left wounds untreated. You have had wounds that's untreated, and we have legitimately been wounded and have a wound. And what happened is, we put something over it, right? Because we don't want to do bad, right? We dress it up real good, right? Cologne on, we got the nice cars, we got the nice career, everything good. I got a family, I got a kid, all this stuff is good, everything is wonderful. I got money, and we do all that. And or you can say, I got my spirituality in check. I'm in church, whatever you want to say. You think you got it together, but that wound that you thought was gone, guess what happens? It's so infected now that it's literally tender to the touch. To the touch. So much so that somebody can say one little thing and you go off because now it hurts. It hurts so bad, and you really don't know. You don't know what the proper response to pain is, right? So your thing is, I'm just feeling it and I'm just going to act. And so now I'm in this tailspin because I got this infected, oozing with pain wound, and I don't know what to do. So I'm telling you, okay, that's the analogy. We got to deal with this wound. So what you do when you get to that bed and it's hurting that bad and you go back to the hospital, first thing you do is they're going to take the wound off and look at just the grossness in it. It's going to look at all the stuff in there that's just, it could be maggots in there. It could be green gangrene, whatever that's called. I'm getting it wrong. Whatever it could be, just a whole bunch of bad stuff. And the reality is that a lot of times, by the time you get there, if they can save it, the first thing they have to do is go in and clean it out and do all that stuff and look, and they're going to ask you questions. What happened? What was this thing that happened? Give me some information. And that's why you need the professional, because why you don't go to the alley and start to get your wound cleaned. Auto mechanic shop to get your wound cleaned. You go to the hospital with a professional that went to school for this, to somebody that is that dealt with this type of thing, and they might not always get it right, but they are the ones that are best equipped to handle these type of situations, handle these wounds, and they're going to know and have a plan. I'm sorry, I get excited about this stuff. They're gonna have a plan to attack this wound and deal with the wound here, because it's been neglected and it's infected, and now you need some medicine, and they're going to help you and partner with you, get you on the path to healing. Did I hit that good, Jared?
You did. You definitely did. You definitely did.
I love my wound one. I think my wound one I love my analogy because people can't see it like that, and I think you need to see it just that harsh. You get shot. I don't care if Ray did a drive-by and shot you. Yes, Ray wrong, but you going to bleed out if you don't get it taken care of. And then a lot of times we think, well, that thing that happened when I was 7 was no big deal. It was no big deal. No big deal until you realize that at 37, Corona happened. And now you're sitting here dealing with why you don't understand why you feel how you do. Why some of the stuff, the Black Lives Matter stuff that happened. That's what I want to talk, and we're gonna finish it up we about hit and quit this in the next couple minutes. With the Black Lives Matter thing, it really hit me hard because I felt like, racism is a sore spot, and it's a dirty wrinkle in our country, and we deal with it, and it's so hard. And I know with my own son and dealing with how our thoughts was about all this stuff and just feeling less than and dealing with all of that, right? So much, especially in this climate, you are not going to survive a long time and do well mentally if you're not able to wrap your head around the fact that these type of events could spur some mental stuff that you didn't was there. It can spur the fact that you really never knew your father. It could spur that you didn't have a, like, maybe you had both of your parents, but maybe one of them were emotionally unavailable.
Yeah.
Really didn't feel cared for. Maybe they loved you, but you didn't feel nurtured. The idea that you got, when you got stopped in that car, you felt like less than human, and
Hmm.
you are angry, and maybe, and so, like, Jared, talk to, and we're gonna feel this is gonna probably be the final thing we're gonna say today. Um, Healing from your past. We now know we have to look back because it's important, but like in this current climate,
Hmm.
for some of the men who found himself never telling anybody that I'm at home and I'm not doing so well. I'm at home and bro, I don't feel good. I'm at home and like this is really not um I feel less than my normal self. And what would you say to them right now?
Mm. I would definitely say, of course, try to find some professional help, somebody that you could talk to, somebody that you could vent to, somebody that you can, just express yourself to. I also, if we're talking about the climate of the pandemic, right? Um, some of us are home alone. Some of us are not really interacting. I tell clients all the time, if you got an iPhone, FaceTime somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Come on.
I'm constantly FaceTiming my friends, so I can have that interaction, that social interaction. It's like I'm hanging out with them literally, like we're FaceTiming, we're joking, we're laughing, So we might not be able to physically touch anybody, but we're still able to literally see people if we have an iPhone at least. And if you have an Android, I think they got Google Duos or whatever. But anyway, you know, yeah. So you gotta, because as human beings, we're not meant to isolate. We're not meant to be alone by ourselves. We're meant to interact. You have
Yep.
introverts, but they still interact in some type of capacity. It may not be as much as the extrovert, but they're interacting, right? So again, we're meant to interact. So I would definitely say that. Now, in relation to the climate of BLM and some of the racial injustices that happen, I would say definitely, definitely, definitely look for support groups. Look to talk with people who have shared experiences, similar stories dealing with racial injustice. Join activism. Join in on activism. That's the big one. Join in on activism. I'm not telling you got to be on the front lines protesting with the sign. You don't got to do that. Because I
Mhm.
believe in activism. I believe that I'm a social justice activist, but I don't protest anymore. I used to, but I don't anymore. Right? I feel like my fight is a little bit different now.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
country is a little bit different. But that's what you can do. Join the activism as you're joining in, working to make that change that you want to see in this society, in this country, because it's not going to happen if we just sit back and allow it to happen. We got to go out there and we have to go. Um, I mean, for lack of a better word, we got to go take it. So I think activism, support groups, and sharing your story and talking with people with similar stories can help with the climate, the racial climate that we're experiencing in this country.
Jerry, you said that perfectly. Perfectly. Perfect. Love it. I really I think we had an amazing conversation.
Absolutely.
I think that it's necessary, and
Yeah.
I just feel like it's going to be the first of many. Just because I think you got to keep the conversation going. It's not a one hit or quitter. Like people think, oh, I talked about my feelings once and I'm good. Nope, that's not how any of this goes. That's not how any of it goes. You literally are just opening something up, but it's not bad. Don't
Yeah.
get scared when you don't know what you're feeling. Sometimes that thing needed to be opened up, and aired out. And like I said, that wound that's infected, that's tender to the touch, you
Yep.
don't go back and cover it back up because you're scared because it hurts. You don't go cover it up because you see the needle. Yeah, the needle's gonna hurt, but it's gonna feel better than the big old gaping wound that you might lose your arm because you had to deal with it.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys got something from this. I know you did. I'm not gonna say hopefully. I know you got something from it. I know y'all feeling good about this. I feel good about it. I'm excited. Y'all know how I get. Jared, many thanks. I really appreciate you. You are the MVP here. Like you definitely Amen. What y'all don't know is that this young man got me a couple of other people that's going to be on here as well. They're in a whole group together. Jared, before we leave, I want you to, I don't know if you want to share anything for people to come look. I know you say you had a book coming out. If people wanted to look you up, or if people want to connect with you any type of way, I know you're in Atlanta. I have people from all over watching. So if they want to connect with you in any kind of way, I don't know, social media, or if you have a website or whatever, just give all that information and I'll pin it if you send it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to connect with me on Instagram, my Instagram is j.washington.hope, as in HOPE. So you can connect with me on there on Instagram. You can also visit my website, is www.jwhopeservices.com. So those are two ways that you can connect with me. Also, I do have my book coming out. It should be coming out either the spring or early summer. So definitely connect with me on Instagram, and definitely connect with me on my website, and you will definitely get some information on the book. You will know when it comes out firsthand, and you can purchase it. So
y'all, we're going to support this because that sounds like an amazing book. I'm going to be on there. I'm ready for the pre-order because that sounds it's necessary. I'm excited. Give me the website one more time.
www.jwhopeservices.com.
All right, I'm just putting it into the chat. Hope JW Hope Services, so that I can pin it and so that y'all can come back, because y'all know I always post this so that you guys can go back to it and look at it. So it's in there, but connect with him on Instagram. I put it in there. I hope I put it in there right. j.washington.hope for Instagram.
Yep.
And then www.jwhopeservices.com for the website.
That's me.
And you're going to have your book information so we can know when to go ahead and order that. Y'all going to get this book. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. Jared, I don't know, but I'm going to put you on the spot here. Can we maybe bring you back on one day and talk some more?
Yeah, of course, definitely.
We'll coordinate it. I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm not putting a date out there, but I just think we flowed really well. And I just think people are going to win hear from you again.
Absolutely. You can definitely do that. Just
awesome. I'm excited.
You got my contact. You can just hit
Yes. This was great. This is a great kickoff to this. I'm really happy. I'm really stoked right now. I don't know how I'm gonna come back down from this, but I'm just excited. Gentlemen, if you saw this and you enjoyed it, check us out all month. We're gonna be doing it. Y'all know I come on Tuesday and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is 7 p.m. Eastern, I believe. Rock with me. It's going to be good. We just have real conversations and, hopefully to spark some interest. So, also don't forget, check out my website, www.parispjohnson.com. You know what I always say, you are enough. And I'm going to say it to you men today, because I know y'all think that's something I say for the women, but I need to say it to you men. You are enough to invest in the investigation of your emotions. This is a thing. You deserve to feel balanced. You deserve to understand why you have these feelings. You deserve to have the right to actually look into this stuff. Sometimes you think, oh no, that's too much fuss over me. Nope, you're worth the fuss. You're worth the fuss. And I know that you don't hear it all the time, but I'm gonna tell you, and you can emote. You don't have to be strong, not all the time. You're not Superman. You don't have to save the world. The world is out of your shoulders. I know Big Mama. I know Mama. I know all of them told you that you had to be the strong man, but you don't. You don't. I know they've been telling you since you 3 and 4 that you got to be the man, but you're not the man. You don't have to be the man. You could just be whoever you are. You could be Jared. You could be Timothy. You can be anybody that's on here. Whoever you are, just be you. You have the permission. You didn't need my permission, but I'm gonna give it to you. You got my permission just to be you. And put that energy into yourself. So I love you guys. Have an amazing evening. Anybody who just came on, please watch the replay because we coming off. But and if you want to type that you're watching the replay so we can know any comments you put, I'm gonna respond to it. And also, you know what I keep forgetting to tell y'all, please share this. Please share. More people need to hear this stuff. These are conversations we need to have all over the world. I just feel like as a country, as a world, we can heal when we start having these conversations. It's not about me. It's not about this platform. It's just about having these conversations that need to be had. So please share it with somebody on your page. Tag somebody that needs to go back and listen to it. Tag your fathers, tag your brothers, tag your uncles, tag everybody, your best friends, whoever. Tag them all, because I just really believe that we need to have these conversations. And women, y'all know y'all more than welcome, because we all have men in our life that we love and we want to see thrive. Jared, have a good evening. Thank you so much. And y'all, we done. Peace. Next, I'll see y'all too. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I forget to tell them my last day. I'm not here till Tuesday, so y'all have an amazing weekend. Do something for yourself. Do something nice for yourself. Self-care is part of mental health. It is. You got to do something for yourself, and just be safe. I know in Chicago we have a whole blizzard coming, so y'all bundle up. All right. See y'all.